Luke, Tom, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us on. Man.
And really appreciative of all the different connections we've got that have made this one happen. And the listeners will be excited to hear from you guys. But I was doing my research, and I know that the Stoltman name, albeit is now synonymous with Invergordon, strongman, and putting Scotland on the map, but it's actually got Polish origins. And even when I looked into the actual history of the name itself, it means proud man. And I think we've got a lot to be proud of for yourselves and your family. But how are you guys feeling as we go into 2023 and we look forward to what's coming up?
Yeah, so going into 2023, we had a big break after World Strongest Man last year. Myself and Luke took like 6 months off. So it's exciting to get back because I think this is Luke and myself's longest time without competing. So we're kind of itching to go and, wanting to get kind of back into the shows and just back into kind of competing again. So yeah, Arnold's is just around the corner, so we're going to go out there, do our best there. And the main one for myself and Luke this year is obviously World's Strongest Man in April. These are the two kind of comps we're focusing on this side of the year, and then we may have a few later on in the year in Glasgow and America again. But yeah, the first two are Arnold's and the Worlds, and we're going to smash them too. So.
Fantastic. How have you found having that longer time away from competing? Look, I know I saw your video on YouTube talking about maybe not having that focus. It started to affect you a little bit mentally, but you guys have been go pretty much since, 2016, 2017, something like that. So to have that 6 month break must feel a little bit foreign.
Yeah, it was an alien feeling, not having anything to kind of prep for and stuff. But what we Tom and I did, we made that decision to take time off, and that really allowed us to concentrate on the kind of the business side that we try and do up here. So, maybe the listeners, strongman isn't the most lucrative financially rewarding things. So you have to try and make as much as you can out of it in the short time that we're competing. So, we've put our time in, for almost 10 years now we've been competing for, and it's been exceptionally busy. And, now we're very fortunate we've managed to set up a business up here in the Highlands in Invergordon, and, very proud of that fact. And, thankfully Strongman's allowed us to do that. And, taking that 6 months off, it was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. You're buzzing one day, and then you're thinking, right, well, all the other guys are competing, and that fear of missing out, that FOMO comes in, and you're like, oh shit, man, it'd be nice to be competing with the guys. But it's it's almost, I think we've got to see the bigger picture now, right? It's rather than focus on the short term gains, it's now the long term, and that's what we're really trying to do now up here. And but yeah, as Tom says, I think we're both really excited to get back to it, and competing on the competition floor. That's where we kind of come alive, and we get that buzz, and it's just really exciting to get back to competing really soon.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder quite a lot of the time. So you guys have probably got not that anyone would ever doubt your hunger, because there's still so much more to do. But when you come away from it a little bit period of time, you come back and you're just even more amped up than ever before. And I think people are going to be excited to see that on their screens, given the energy you're well known for bringing to the floor. But one of the most important things I think you've touched on there is setting up things for beyond strongman. And one of the terms you guys use is leaving a legacy. But that probably means like providing for family, for friends, all the important people around you. And that can't happen unless you think about things that are going to need to be in place beyond when your bodies maybe can't perform some of the miraculous feats they do at the moment.
For sure, man. Yeah, that's, Tom and I are brothers, and we're very fortunate now that Harry, our youngest brother, works for the business as well. We've got a gym. One of our good friends, Sean, he kind of runs that. He's a gym manager there, and it's not just about Tom and myself here. It's like you say, it's the whole family. Our sister Nikki sometimes works in the shop. She's pregnant with twins at the moment, so it gives her another income. And just trying to set that kind of that legacy, that long lasting legacy that we kind of set out a few years ago to do. And hopefully things will just keep kind of growing and growing. And there's a few different things happening this year. Hopefully the documentary that we've been filming will be coming out. New clothing range, the Stoltman Strength Academy, our online training, that's going really well. Just giving more of a community aspect to what we're trying to do as well. Extend that community to the far corners of the world, and just keep doing what we like, because this is awesome. Doing this type of stuff is pretty cool what we get to do. it doesn't really feel like a job to us. So it's really nice.
I love to hear that. And I guess let's rewind back to when you maybe started Strongman Look, because I guess that's probably where the legacy began, because everything's kind of followed on from there. What got you involved in the strongman scene?
It was a kind of strange one for me. I really enjoyed bodybuilding more when I was younger. So I started training when I was about 16 years old and more into the bodybuilding scene. I then started working offshore on the oil rigs when I was 18. And the bodybuilding life offshore was pretty tough with regards to diet and nutrition. But what I did find is my strength was really increasing quite dramatically. And then met a couple of guys at a local competition, a deadlift competition I did. They convinced me to do strongman, and entered a local competition, Highlands Strongest Man. Managed to win that, fortunately, and then went on to Scotland Strongest Man. And then that went quite well. I won that the first time I did it and won it for the next 5 years. And just fell in love with strength. Everything to do with strength was just like the competition nature of it was really appealing to me. Setting goals for me is really important to kind of keep that mindset really kind of clear and positive. And then on the top, then Tom joined in. I don't know. It was like I'd been doing it maybe 3 years. I'd won Scotland's maybe 3 years, and then Tom came in, and getting to compete with Tom, my brother, and see him kind of flourish and just become this absolute unit that's before us now. It's absolutely insane. So it's been quite a wild journey.
Absolutely. And Tom, what were you thinking when you were seeing Luke competing? Was that something that you wanted a slice of the pie of? Or because I know that you obviously grew up with a lot of different challenges and you were quite shy and reserved, but seeing Luke achieve like Scotland's Strongest Man and starting to build towards like somebody that was a really strong individual, both physically but also like in terms of his presence, that must have been something that caught your eye.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I was never really ever interested in this kind of gym, the stuff that he did before, like the bodybuilding kind of stuff and that. But then I watched Strongman as well, so I knew about like Mariusz Puszkanowski, and like that's a guy that kind of stood out to me, and that's what Luke kind of reminded me of back then. Because for me, Mariusz had that body. He didn't just have the strength; he had the body as well. And a lot of the other of these old kind of fashion strongmen didn't look like professional kind of athletes. And then when I went down to kind of watch Luke, compete and see him, he was kind of like that as well. He had the abs and the big, massive upper body, and these other guys were looked like a bit out of shape and stuff. So I was like, wow, this looks like lifting these cars and logs like I've just seen Mariusz do on TV. And that's my brother, and I get to see him do it in real life. And then also he won it as well, which was even more special. So yeah, it was obviously I liked football my whole life, and it was kind of felt like I was like football was a big, massive buzz. That's what I said. I didn't really like. I've seen him in the gym and that before. I didn't really like that kind of thing, just going into the gym, posing, benching, and all that kind of stuff. But to actually watch him lift things that humans shouldn't lift was mind-boggling. I was like, people shouldn't be rolling cars; they should be driving them. You shouldn't be putting logs above your head. You shouldn't be lifting up these big, massive stones to put on platforms. And yeah, it was just kind of, just sitting there, kind of like, wow, this is incredible. This is like me watching real-life superheroes. And it was, an incredible kind of thing to do. And that's how I kind of started my journey, because as soon as he did that, I was like, I want to get into this sport and actually see what I can do with it. So,
what were those early days like in the gym, Tom? Was there any indication, or look, when you were watching him and kind of teaching him some of the technique, was there any indication that we had the level of potential that we've now seen realised?
I mean, for myself, the reason I started the gym was just to change my life mentally. Obviously having autism and stuff, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and football was kind of out the window by that stage. So I just wanted to go to the gym just to make myself feel happier, and to maybe I set small goals, and just have something to aim for in life. And then obviously I think Luke, I trained with Luke a lot. He was going back and forth to offshore, so I had Luke as like a support blanket and comfort blanket that I didn't talk to anybody else. But then gradually, as I got into the gym more and more, he was going away. I was interacting with other people, and without me realizing, I was getting social skills, learning how to kind of develop in the gym. And the gym didn't just teach me physically how to get strong and big; it's taught me mentally and how to like talk to people and stuff. So yeah, it was a big wake up call for me, because the first maybe year or 2 years, I learned a lot about myself that I didn't realize. And by just going into a gym and putting weight on a bar and lifting it, and seeing other people do the same things. And it's kind of a big family. I ended up having this big massive family after a year or 2 years in the gym.
I think everyone, when they go to the gym, they've got those people that go at the same time that they say hello to and they chat to and they nod at. And one of the hardest parts of the pandemic when there was a lockdown for me was missing that social interaction. Even though maybe you didn't know loads about that particular person, you had an element of social connection that was beyond maybe just the Zoom calls or the team calls that you were doing with work or with friends. And remember those Zoom quizzes that we were all doing to try and stay connected. So there's definitely an element of missing that. And I guess, look, when you were going away on the rigs for work to provide for your family and maybe finance some of the stuff in the early days of your strongman career, when you come back and Tom's maybe chatting to people he wasn't chatting to last time out, there must be an element of like, right, okay, this gym thing's really doing something for our family here.
Yeah, it was huge. And I think that was a very good kind of telltale sign is when I did go away, it was a sense of worry, that Tom might stop going to the gym or he might kind of shy away from it or not be able to talk to people. But I mean, he just flourished. It was every time I used to come back from offshore. Sometimes I'd be away for 3 weeks. It could be a couple of months, depending where I was working. And every time I came back, Tom was just looking bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was insane. I was like, this guy is massive, man. It was wild. I remember the first time Tom pulled 300 kilos deadlift. I think I was offshore at the time, and someone sent me the video. I'm like, geez, oh man, that was like within 6 months of training or something. It was insane. And but the strength was great. The physical strength was really nice to see. But then the mental side of it for Tom that I got to witness every time I came home, like you say, Tom. When I came back, Tom would be speaking more. He'd be kind of communicating a lot more with different people, and the social circle was growing. So when Tom's social circle grew, so did mine, and vice versa. So more people I had in my life in the gym, so did Tom, and we just kept growing and growing. And as Tom says, the family, the gym family, the strength family that we have is so amazing, and some of the best people for me I've ever met in my life.
With your confidence growing, Tom, I want to understand from you, Luke, though, what it was like to be able to make the shift and actually leave the oil rigs, leave the security of that income and go full time within strongman. What has to happen for that to be achieved?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think for me, just relying on strongman was a bit of a big ask. But by that time, so that was kind of back in 2019 when I gave up offshore. So by that time, we had a kind of brand established. So we were fairly confident because there was money, there was an income from the branding sides, from the clothing. Plus, then we had, YouTube was up and running by then as well, and the gym, we had a gym as well. So there was a few different aspects. But I've had a couple of questions about how you become a full-time strongman. Like people assume, or people think, I think that Tom and I are full-time strength athletes, but to be honest, I've never worked more hours than I have now, as I do in our own business. So we're down here, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning every day, working weekends, working late nights, and then on top of that, we've got a train as well. So, but for me, the main thing was, I spoke to my wife Kushi and said, look, this is something that I feel I really need to do, in terms of overall happiness, I guess, being offshore in the oil rigs. Like I said, I did that since I was 18, and I'd done that for 17, 18 years. And it wasn't making me happy. It was a financially, it was a secure job, but you want the bigger challenge you have in life, I think the bigger rewards you get. So for me, this was just another challenge of becoming as successful as we can, not only in strength, but in the business side of things. So I knew with Tom, Tom and I, we competed out in Dubai in 2019. We came second and third. It was a big international competition, and that was a real kind of positive. And then also that year we made the final of World's Strongest Man, and then all those things, we're saying, right, look, it's time to make that decision, and you owe it to yourself. I wouldn't want to be that that guy, you know, in 20 years' time saying I could have done that, should have done that. But you know, but without Tom, I wouldn't have been able to make that decision to go full time. So I think it was because of Tom, because of the brand, because of, you know, the support from family and friends that was able to happen.
Yeah, it's incredible the support that you've both provided each other in different ways, I guess. And 2019 is still relatively recent, but you guys had been doing competitions before that, and like, look, you'd had some great results at Scotland's Strongest Man, Europe's Strongest Man before that, while of course balancing a career on the side that doesn't exactly lend itself to what I would call peak performance. If we're thinking about the nutrition, the sleep, the hydration, and the access of training that you have in those early days of you guys like doubling down and pushing forward the strongman, what are the financial realities when it comes to maybe getting access to the right equipment? Because if I think about your competitors who are maybe taking it more seriously at that point in time because of the access of kind of stuff they've got access to, you guys are doing lifts that maybe aren't traditionally available in most standard gyms.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously it was hard. I think also it limits for where we're from, you know. I mean, most places think this in mainland Scotland when you order stuff and that, so it's there. But yeah, I mean, when I obviously first started the kind of wanted to get into strongman and that, you know, and we have a local gym in Invergordon, you can't really. I had to start moving away from there because they don't provide any kind of strongman stuff at all. It was the basic bench, deadlift, squat kind of stuff, and you know, you can get strong, but you know, you need to be able to train strongman if you want to be a good strongman. It's so yeah. So then we ended up moving to our next gym, and again, that was a drive for myself and Luke, and we still wanted to be able to have access to gym equipment easily. And even back then, when we first started, there wasn't really many Atlas stones. I mean, we used a stone that was soft and then really jagged the whole way around. So you're carrying it, you're getting cuts. There was maybe one or two wee logs that weren't in very good conditions, maybe a thick kind of bar, and that was about it. So we kind of had to, we ended up turning kind of Luke's garage and my mum and dad's kind of old wee shed into like a gym. And, you know, we had to buy all the stuff from online and really just invest in a lot of it, and ended up just making our own wee strongman kind of gym. And that was kind of how we got through. You know, we ended up having to kind of train on gravel outside as well. So we had to do, Luke had a gravel drive. We had to do yokes on that instead of gyms, because none of the gyms had it. We had to do deadlifts on uneven ground. Our old stone shed that my mum and dad had was so old that every time we dropped the bar, it would get holes and holes and holes in it. So we ended up doing that holes and holes and stuff like that. But that's what we had to do because that's what we wanted to do, and that's all we could do. You know, we could travel 1, 2, 3 hours away to Glasgow or Perth and, you know, get some good gyms there. But what's the point doing that where we had to kind of just, we wanted to invest in ourselves and have this kit available for us on our doorstep. And yeah, that's kind of how we, I think, went about it in the earlier days. But there was nothing at all. When I first started strongman, there was, I mean, probably worse for Luke, but for me, there was a few things, but there wasn't any kind of thing near that it was now. So
I think that's part of the beauty of the story, that it didn't come easy. I think a lot of the time when we relate to people who have come up and made it and achieved the level of success that you both have, it's nice to look back at the time when it's a lot more relatable. Maybe they didn't have the state-of-the-art facility, maybe they didn't have the sponsorships with MyProtein and Rain and the kind of Mabel support that allows you to perform at the very elite level. But as you're battling your way up and you're almost proving that we're going to do this by hook or by crook, we're going to claw our way to the top. There's going to be some uneven deadlifts, some holes in the floor, some sharp stones to carry. But I think that's part of the endearing part of the whole Stoltman story, where you've come from a background that maybe didn't predispose you to, albeit genetically, you've got some fantastic genetics and some great potential. You weren't in an environment that was perfect for you guys to achieve on the level of some of the world-renowned athletes you've come up against.
Definitely. And I think that's the why it's taken a little bit of a longer time. You know, you see some guys that are kind of bursting on the scene now, and you know, they've probably got a lot better facilities to train in. They might have, a bit more money, and they don't have to, work away offshore and stuff. And because being financially stable is very important. You know, if you've got a wife, you've got a family, you've got a house, mortgage, bills, etc., you have to be able to pay that. And for me personally, I needed to do that, and that was my decision. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's probably taken over a decade for Tom and I to kind of come to where we are now. And we wouldn't do it any other way. That's that kind of hardship going through that, you know, doing 400 kilo yokes and uneven ground and gravel and deadlifting deficit deadlifts on one end because it's broken the concrete floor that's over 100 years old. You know, those type of things. That's real life. That's the reality that we had to do. You know, we did it on our mum and dad, our dad now, but he had a drive into his house, and doing it on there, you know, it kind of bent it dented the tar road. And now there's like puddles whenever it rains. There's like water that lies in the low points there from deadlifting. You know, we didn't have, you know, these fancy equipped gyms, and we probably never will. You know, we've got a gym in Invergordon that's going to be really well equipped and really nice, but it's still, you know, very robust. You know, that's what we need. You know, I think sometimes we get caught up in trying to have the best of gear, the best of equipment and stuff, and in reality, all you need is, you know, all we had initially was an old barbell and some cast iron plates, and as Tom says, an Atlas stone that had a bit of a plinth kind of chopped off in it, so it wasn't an easy kind of introduction to strength. But it's something, you know, when you feel something, when you feel happy or you feel excited, you feel those endorphins going. We knew that's what our calling almost was, and you know, we did everything we could to kind of facilitate that at the time. And you know, it's taken us a little bit longer than some of the guys, but I'm eternally thankful for that kind of that journey that we've been on. You know, it's grown us really close. It's allowed us to work together, to train together, to compete together, and you know, now we get to talk together as well, which is amazing.
How close were you guys growing up pre-strongman?
Yeah, it's a weird one because, I mean, I think it's the age difference. Obviously, Luke's 10 years older, so, you know, when I'm 8, 9 years old, he's 18, 19, so he's not going to be kind of around the house so long. And that's when obviously Luke started offshore. So when we were younger, yeah, we weren't too close. I mean, I was getting a lot of support with the family. Obviously, my mum and dad, with my autism and stuff, had to, like, you know, they had to sacrifice a lot of time with the other siblings for me. So, yeah, I kind of just, I didn't really see, I knew, so Luke was kind of just, for me, just working and just going out with his mates and doing his own things. And I was just more my wee brother, Harry. You know, we were a closer age, so I was doing more things with him. He was doing football training with me. He was playing with me, and you know, we were on Xboxes together. So I was more closer to him. But yeah, it's weird when you know, find a sport and you kind of develop together, and you know, now we're kind of the best friends. It's weird how it happens, you know. But yeah, back then it was more just, you know, with autism and stuff. I was just trying to look was more like a carer kind of person for me than a brother. And that's how I felt, kind of seeing everyone, you know, all my family had to take a step back to help me before they helped themselves, you know. So
Yeah, definitely. I think that older brother role, look, I play it for my younger brother as well, and I think you do feel a little bit of protection, albeit the age gap between us is only 3 years. You definitely feel like you're a bit further down the track. You need to put the arm around the shoulder and guide them, even though they've probably got a lot more potential in different areas than ourselves sometimes as well. But I'm really interested to know what it was like in those early competition days where maybe you guys had seen success at a Scottish level, but what was like the step up when you maybe go to international, to Europeans or to other events?
yeah, I mean, for me, it was like mentally for me was where I struggled with with the strongman. Physically, even back then I was, you know, 6'5", 6'6". Obviously, like Luke said, I was, you know, deadlifting, squatting, whatever it was in the first year. I was hitting numbers that, you know, a lot of people take a few years to get to, but it was the mental side of things that let me down. I mean, I think I went to my first Scotland's, came 5th or 4th, and I think that level for me was fine because there was not many cameras, there's not many people asking for interviews. There was a small kind of crowd, and then the same with kind of junior level at Scotland's Strongest Man as well. That was a wee crowd, not many cameras and stuff. But then when I got the call up to go to UK Strongest Man, and then I knew it was about the TV and stuff, that's when I kind of just kind of broke and panicked because I never thought I would be doing, you know, UK Strongest Man and with it so quick into my career. And like I said, mentally I wasn't mature enough to kind of do this stuff. I was still in that wee support bubble and still needing like Luke to help me around things and stuff. And yeah, I think I remember like we had to go do interviews and I was like, crap, like this, I actually have to talk to a camera for TV. and it took all my energy out of me. It broke me, and I had to have Luke sitting with me, and I really just kind of got overwhelmed and ended up not performing great at all. And these kind of things, a lot of people don't see, because they think, oh, I'm a normal guy, physically I'm the best, I can be the best in the world. But yeah, if you're broken mentally, it's really hard. And that's what I really struggled with at the start. That's what took me a long, long time to really get mentally strong, was to get, to know that strongman was to do with cameras. There was going to be on TV. I was going to be in big stadiums and stuff. And even at Britain's Strongest Man, I remember one of my first years there, I ended up coming last, and I knew I could beat all these guys, but mentally I just crumbled. I came last in an event, threw my belt away and said I'm never competing in strongman again. Went home and I didn't compete for 2 or 3 months because mentally I knew that I'd let myself down, and I thought I probably was better than I was, where I kind of had to then take a step back and go, look, yeah, like, physically you're fine, let's get you mentally sorted. So yeah, mentally I was really broken at the start and didn't really know how to deal with it. But then when I did come last in that competition, I took a step back and realised, right, I need to work on myself mentally before I can get back into this kind of competing and stuff. And then that's when it kind of helped me, when I got my mental strength up. But yeah, at the start it was very hard because I thought I was better than I was. I didn't win everything at junior level. I wasn't winning everything at Scotland's. I wasn't winning everything at Britain's and UK's because of this mindset of mine. So.
Yeah, it's definitely draining when you're having to put that focus towards something that's not the actual bread and butter of the event itself. And I think if we watch earlier interviews with you guys, look, like you say, you do take the lead and you're providing the voice and you're almost speaking on Tom's behalf because you guys are so close. You know what each other are probably wanting to say as well. But the flourishing of both of you on the international stage and online has been amazing to watch. And in the same way that you're doing reps in the gym, I wonder how helpful it was you guys getting the cameras out for YouTube back in the day and maybe uploading even when maybe the audience wasn't quite as big as it is now. You're maybe practicing to have those conversations. And if I look at the camera presence that both of you have got, in particular, Tom, obviously you've come on night and day from the nerves that you had previously. But look, even like you're way more polished now and so much more gregarious. And we actually we get way more of the humor because you guys are way more relaxed and you get to bring your real selves to the chats that you're having to the cameras.
100%. I mean, it's so important because again, we come from such a small town up in Invergordon. So for us to be on like TV sometimes, do our YouTube stuff, social media, all those things are very alien to a lot, or probably the vast majority of people in the world. It's very alien to do that. So to have, here's a camera, speak and say something interesting, it's like, I don't know, you're kind of stuttering and you're not too sure what to do. And I think, now all we have to do is just be relaxed. Like you said, it's like being relaxed and being ourselves. We're just telling our story. It's like, training is our content. And that's something that we've been doing since we were really, really young, since we're both 16 years old. So that becomes second nature to us now. That training lifestyle is ingrained in us. It's not anything different. So that's very easy now. So like you say, the more times the camera's putting in, the more we're filming, the more we're kind of getting used to doing the intros, the outros, the in-betweens. It just becomes very, it's just a job. It's very much a job now. That's part of our day-to-day life. And over time, it does get a little bit more comfortable doing that. But it's still very surreal for even doing, this type of stuff, podcasts, or if people want to come and have a chat with us or take photos, it's not lost in us that it's completely mental that people want to spend time and listen to our story. Like we think our story is amazing. I think it's super cool that people want to listen to us, and but it's just really, really humbling that people show an interest in us and the family and the little town where we're from. It's really, really special to both Tom and I.
When did that start to be something you really noticed, when you were out and about in public and people were wanting to come and chat and take photos?
Probably after the first time we qualified, was it?
Yeah, probably the first time we qualified for the final at Worlds. That's when, especially in our hometown, that's when people were like, geez, he's like, we've got celebrities living here. And then also, I think for both of us, I think the biggest times have been the last 2 years. Realistically, we have the signs made for us. Every time you drive into our hometown, you see the home of the Stoltman Brothers. had a lot more media presence since then as well. And I think everywhere we kind of go now, they know who me and Luke are. When I'm going to places as well myself, and Luke goes places himself, Luke's got Stoltman in his car as well, and people take photos sneakily. So yeah, I think you can't really hide anymore, and it's like I said, it's really nice to know that we can, that our local town, or everyone in the UK, knows who we are really. And yeah, it's a cool feeling, but still a weird feeling at the same time, knowing that like 10 years ago, or even 5-6 years ago, had anybody know who we were, and now nearly a lot of people know who we are in the UK, and it's just a real feeling that we're just going out and about, and they're like, oh, there's Tom Stoltman, or there's Luke Stoltman, and you can chat to people. And that, it's really nice. But yeah, I think it's been, for me, definitely the last 2 years with the 2 world titles, being on kind of Soccer Aid, and myself and Luke growing the business and being on a lot more kind of media stuff, TV stuff. It's really helped us grow our business, but also really get out, and not just in the UK, but globally as well.
You mentioned qualifying for the Worlds for the first time, and that made you the first 2 brothers to ever compete at that level. How did that feel?
Obviously, I mean, that was special. We had our dad out there as well, which it was Father's Day, the day of the final, so it was pretty special there. But I was under pressure. Luke qualified, and then I was like, right, damn it, I've got to do this now as well. And yeah, doing it on a stone off as well was cool. So yeah, myself, we both did it, and it was just really cool to be. I think after that, my mindset changed to the final. It was like, I can just have fun now. I've done what I wanted to do, and I think it was the same as Luke. We've done what we wanted to do this year. We've ticked the boxes. The final is just a bonus. Let's just have fun, and then we can keep going every year after that. But that's when I think the legacy kind of started properly. Was 2 brothers from Invergordon in the final of a World's Strongest Man. You don't really hear that, or you'll never hear that again ever. So
let's fast forward to 2021 then, when you did win your title, Tom, and look, you were right up there until kind of fell away to 7th, albeit that's one of your highest places. So what was that like, competing at that very highest level together, and maybe both potentially vying for podium places at that point too?
Yeah, I mean, it was special. I think, I said this is kind of the power of my mindset now, as well as I think it was in 2019. I said I'd make a 3-year plan. Obviously, our mum passed away a few years before that, and I wanted to make a 3-year plan to her. And I said, in front of cameras and online and everything, that in the 2019 we'd get to the final. 2020, we'd podium, and in 2021 I'd win World's Strongest Man. And obviously 2020 I podium, 2021 I won. So it was kind of like, I hate breaking promises, and I was really, really confident going into that World's Strongest Man in 2021. All I did was train, eat, sleep like a strong man, sacrifice so much because I wanted this promise to my mum that I was going to win it. And that I wrote on Facebook as well. I think people might think it's arrogant and stuff, but I wrote that I was going to be World's Strongest Man before I went out there. And I just had a really good mindset and a really good feeling about it. And yeah, and obviously to be training with myself and Luke, pushing each other to the limits, and going out there together, and to be able to actually, I think the best part for me was going up against Brian Shaw at the end. I think it was whoever won that wins World's Strongest Man. And although I was good at stones, my bum was twitching a wee bit there, because this guy has been in this position so many times before, and this was my first on a big stage like this, my first time ever here. And I'd said to myself that one slip, and I've all the kind of 12 months I've worked for is going down the drain. And I just wanted to just fly, and that's what I did. I looked around, and I think when I realised I won and Luke ran over and we had that pitch that time together, that was kind of the realise when I was like, wow, we've done it, and obviously I won, but Luke, it's a big victory for both of us. So yeah, it was a very special feeling to be able to obviously do it with Luke there. It was in COVID times as well, so it was really hard. So I was FaceTiming the wife, and the news just broke out back home. And yeah, it was a very special feeling to be able to do that. And obviously having the autism as well, it's nice to be able to know that this guy's just done this that I got rid of maybe 3 or 4 years before that. So
100%. And like you say, look, it was a huge achievement for you as well, because one, you were competing at the highest possible level and placing as high as you've ever done, but you can literally hear you screaming and shouting and encouraging Tom throughout it. How similar is that to what a training session looks like? Obviously it picks up for the world stage and the very highest competitive level, but what are you two like when you train together?
Yeah, it's very similar to that, I think. We both are very encouraging to each other. There's a time in training, you can see when one of us, or say if I'm struggling, Tom will really kind of get vocal and like, you know, shout me on, and then vice versa. If Tom's struggling in something, and Tom's really, I'm very vocal towards Tom. So that we try and make training kind of as realistic to the competitions as we can. So we tend to train, you know, 5-6 events in a training session, which kind of mimics the environment of a competition. So you've got to keep going to the very end. So that's where you're really putting your, not only your physical limits at test, but your mental aspect as well. Because when it gets hard, you know, again, the vast majority of us just think, right, that's it, I'm done, this is too hard. But because we've got the both of us, you know, when we get to those hard sets, it's right, come on, it's time to switch on. Tom's shouting at me, I'm getting it done. And then we switch and I shout at Tom, and, you know, we get it done. And it's really cool to see what you can do with your mind as well. Because if you have that mindset, because sometimes we both go in and we don't have the mindset to kind of complete the session, and we have a bad session. But when we're both firing on all cylinders and we both got that mentality, right, this is going to be a brilliant session. And it is. Like our biggest session 2 weeks ago was the best session we've had in a long time. And that's because we both kind of switched on. We both said, right, we've got to make this. This is the one that we've got to make a good one. And thankfully, you know, it went really well. And it's just, yeah, it's that energy, you know, the energy that Tom gives me, and then hopefully the energy that I give Tom. You know, we're both kind of, I suppose, vibrating at that same frequency. And yeah, it's like an energy. It's like a ball of energy. You know, a really like intense energy that we have. And it's you just feel it growing, and then when you get to the competition, that's when it just all comes firing out. And I think that's what makes us quite unique. You know, there's a lot of other amazing strength athletes out there, super straight, like strong, and, you know, great personalities and stuff. But there's only ever going to be one set of brothers that made the World's Strongest Man final, and that's what I'm very proud of.
I think you've got every reason to be proud of that. And also some of the language that you use in there, look, is what makes you guys unique as top level competitors as well. Energy, frequency, vibrating. It's quite holistic. Whereas I think some people would immediately think strongman, me pick this up, me put it down here. It's very, very basic in terms of like, it's very easy to tell who's won because that's happened. But all the stuff that goes on inside your head is vital, because if you guys all stood in a line next to the other athletes that were competing, there might be some differences. Maybe somebody's got slightly more muscle mass, somebody's a little bit leaner, somebody's got a better cardiovascular, somebody's better at the log, somebody's better at the stones. But what's going on inside the top few inches is absolutely vital as well. And I know you've really leaned into kind of holistic aspect with your coach Dan and some of the stuff that's gone on there. What would you say has been the game changer when it's come to that side of things?
I think probably initially when we spoke to our psychologist, our clinical psychologist Amy, she did so much work with both Tom and myself, and then, you know, in recent times, the last year or so, I've gone into more like a holistic kind of style of practice, I guess, whatever you want to call it. You know, I do like meditation, chanting, you know, all different types of stuff. I recently just did a men's retreat there, where we did like sharing circles and trying to, you know, really kind of just because there's energy in everything that we do, you know, so any energy that you can harness, a positive energy, it's going to do you good. You know, you can see that when you go into a room with someone. If someone's feeling down and sad and, you know, depressed, you can go into a room and you can sense that bad energy. Not bad energy, but it's a different type of energy. It just brings you down. So if you go into a room, like, so say if I'm in the warm-up area and Tom comes next to me and I'm down and I'm like, oh, this is rubbish, Tom's going to feel that. But if I'm buzzing, I'm like, come on, let's go, boom, 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 Tom's going to get that energy, and vice versa. So it's just being open to those things. You know, it's very apparent there's a lot more out there to utilize. Again, you know, I do a lot of, you know, my cold water swims, my sunrise swims and stuff. Like the amount of, I mean, Tom doesn't share this love of sunrise early morning swims like I do, but the energy I get from seeing a sunrise is, oh man, like I'm there on the beach myself, screaming, like just like harnessing that energy, taking it in. It's like I've got this energy, and I can. It's almost like you can shoot out laser beams with your hands sometimes. So yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know if it's something that will be something I'll carry on. I hope it is, because I get so much from it. I've been doing it for quite a long time now, and I'm just open to all the different, kind of styles of kind of training there is. And I think that holistic style is very much apparent, especially in Scotland. The landscape we have, the vast outdoors, the greenery, the sand, the water, the earth, everything. We can get energy from anything. And I think I'd like to try and showcase that to people on a bigger scale, because I think that could really help with the depression that we see in the world. The mental health stuff. It's been really life changing for me in my
We've
mind.
seen so many guys that are big, jacked, strong, lean into this side of things in recent months and years. And I think it's great to hear you guys talking about it. And if that's what's bulletproofing your mental health, or at least shielding you from the lowest of days, or helping you move forward from those challenging periods, then the more people speak about it and people give what I would call like empowering tools to get out of those states, the better for me. And I'm really glad that people like yourselves are using your platform to talk about these kind of things and lean into them. And it might not work for everyone, but I think people would feel an awful lot better if they are able to make it out from under the covers and go out into nature, go out into the water, experience these things, get us away from our devices and our screens and the kind of monotonous lifestyle that we can live. So I'm really glad that you guys are using that chance to talk about it. And if you look at how your performance has moved on in terms of on the stage, that's exciting that, I've unlocked this extra little bit of I don't know, ability within myself by nailing my mental state too.
It was really life changing for you, wasn't it? With when Tom started speaking to Amy, it was like Tom went from maybe, sorry for speaking for you, Tom, but you went from like maybe not being able to take in, like if there was a surprise or something that went wrong, to it doesn't matter. Tom's mindset is very concrete in thinking. So, Tom's, you'll say it yourself, you've done it once, so why can't I do it again? He's done the hard part, he's won it once, so I'll just do the same but better, and then I'll keep winning it. So I wish I could be like that. My mindset is a little bit different from Tom's, but the work that Tom's done with a psychologist has been incredible. And I think it's hugely important, especially if it's something so alien, because we're not used to this lifestyle. It's still very, very alien to us. So for us to be able to cope with it mentally, we have to work on that mental aspect. And Tom does everything. You do your cold water at night, in the evening. You probably don't feel the same like mental buzz that I get, but I think but if you probably analysed it a little bit more, if you don't do it, then your sleep's probably not as good. You're not as rested, not as relaxed. So it's just seeing it from different perspectives, I think. So I see it from one side of things, and Tom probably uses it more as a physical, but I think it does help you in a big way mentally as well.
That's a big thing when you talk about when you remove habits. So if I think about when I'm away with work overnight in hotels, and I maybe access my screen earlier in the day, and I start taking in WhatsApp, Instagram, and I don't go for my morning walk, and I don't journal, I start to see, I'm not feeling as good throughout this day, not in terms of like a huge difference, but if I do that for days at a time, say I'm away for a full week with work, that compounds and my good habits have been lost. So I bet, Tom, if you didn't do your cold water at night for 5 days, 6 days, or whatever, you'd maybe be a bit more snappy with like maybe your training wouldn't be as good. And it's sometimes when it's the absence of something, you realize how big a role it can play.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even when the 6 months I had off, obviously routine's a massive part for myself, and I didn't really have routine. I didn't really, my coach, I just could do what I really wanted in the gym. Didn't really have a diet plan, and just my recovery, I didn't do any recovery. I was like, for me, I kind of see like if I've not got a goal, I don't kind of work on any other things. So if I've not got a goal in the gym, I won't go and do everything else I need to do. So I won't stay on a diet. I won't do recovery. And when I kind of started for Arnold's prep, for the first 2 weeks, for me, it was like I've just restarted strongman again. My mind was like trying to get back in. I was training all right, but trying to get back into diet, and then recovery for me was the hardest part. Trying to get back into a hot and cold tub. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, this is the worst thing in the world. But I kept doing it, and I just started feeling amazing again. And maybe I've missed it maybe once or twice in this prep, and you can feel it. You feel how crap I feel at night times. When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel as good because I've not had enough good sleep. And Luke does it for a lot of mental things, but for myself, I just do it for recovery. I've done it for the last 2 years for recovery. I really switch off when I do it. If I do it in the mornings, during the day, I can't train, I can't do a lot of stuff. My mind just kind of shuts down, and I think it really works for me because, if I'm had like a really stressful day, a hard day training or whatever it is, I can just go in there and shut down, and it really works. But when you don't do it, like I said, that 6 months I was all over the place. I didn't do anything. I just didn't care really what I was doing, and trying to get back into a routine was really hard. Gym's the easiest thing for me to get back into a routine, but it's diet and recovery. And I think that's, when you're doing this kind of strongman, I think for me it's recovery, nutrition, diet, training. I think training is the third most important thing for myself. I could train once or twice a week and still win World's Strongest Man if my diet and recovery is on point. And I think that's, what a lot of people, that's what I kind of said to myself in my head as well. It's like, right, let's just train as I'm doing and just try and get this recovery more and better than training. So that's what I started doing. But if you go out routine, it's so hard to get back into it, and you feel so bad.
I know from friends and family that are on the autism spectrum, routine is an absolutely massive part of them feeling at their best. And when there are little stumbles and challenges to that, it becomes really problematic. But it's amazing you've also done some work with Amy that means that when sometimes things aren't quite set in stone and set in concrete, that you're able to react to it and not go into your shell or find that as big a challenge. Obviously, you retained the title in 2022, and we're going for the three-peat in 2023. What are both your ambitions in strongman moving forward?
Obviously, for me, it's winning World Strongman once was good, but then to do it again, and I've got all the belief in the world. For me, I think, like Luke said earlier, the first title is the hardest title, and I think now all the pressure's off me for World Strongest Man. I've done it, and I know if I come in and do everything I've done for the last 2 years, I'll keep winning it. I think if I'm 100%, I'm the best strongman in the world. And if I can go into that for that mental thing, I think I'll win it again this year. I want to win it. I want to be the most successful athlete from World Strongest Man, but I also want to win other competitions as well, like the Arnolds, the Rogues, the Short Classics, and then that's kind of the main ones I want to do. But then also grow the business. I think for us to grow, we need to be able to grow in strongman, but also grow the business. If you only grow in one thing, you're leaving other things around, you're never going to kind of be able to leave that legacy. So strongman's good. I'm only 28, so my mind's still on the World Strongest Man and the competing thing. But obviously Luke's a bit older, so he's going to be eventually more into the business side of things in the next few years, where I'll still be at my peak competing and stuff. So we need to be able to, that'll be a new thing for us as well, because Luke will be training, but he won't be as intense. So it's hard. It's just trying to plan for the next 5-10 years. I've got a big 5-year plan that I want to do. I just want to keep dominating in strongman, but also obviously grow the business and get on the TV stuff, keep on doing other things. For example, soccer aid again, keep doing that kind of stuff, and just be a big ambassador for autism. For me, that's the most important thing. I think I won these 2 titles, and it's really it's really helped people with autism, because I call it the superpower now as well, and it's just really helped kids. It's helped people open up about autism as well. And
I see your YouTube comment section. It's incredible. Like, that must be, sometimes YouTube comment section, it's best not to read it because people can be pretty mad on there. But when you guys see those good comments, your mental health video was incredible. You saw people saying about how much that helped. But then, Tom, when you are such a strong ambassador for people who are neurodiverse and autistic, like it must be like, wow, what I'm putting out into the world is having an impact.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, because when I was younger, I had people I looked up to, and these people really helped me to adapt as an adult and adapt as a person. So I've obviously gone through life with autism. So, you can ask maybe Luke about it and stuff, but he's not going to know as much as me, because obviously, when you live with autism, even though I've kind of lived with it 28 years, I've still got it, and I still struggle with it sometimes as well. So I always get these kids coming up to me and go, I've got a superpower like you, when I go to schools, even adults as well. It's like mental health as well. It's kind of adults, a lot of adults with autism trying to shell it away and not tell people about it. As soon as they tell it, a big weight's off their shoulder, and they're like, I'm just a normal person, And that's what I've said to other people as well. You know, the most successful people in the world, half of them have had autism, you know, and they do things that aren't humanly possible. And that's what I'm kind of doing right now in this in Strongman is, you know, I won it twice in a row. And if I win it for the third time as well, it's a percentage of people that have done it, and I've done it with autism. So yeah, I'm trying to, for me, that's the biggest thing. I want to grow my platform and grow the business as well to also help people that have struggled with autism as well. Because even, I know it's been like, you know, a long time since I've been diagnosed, but even schools still to this day still don't really understand it and kind of label them wrong. And you know, when your kid gets that label of, oh, this kid's got autism, or your kid's misbehaving, or your kid's doing this, it's really hard for a parent to hear, but it's also really hard for that child to hear. You know, a 10-year-old child hearing that they're different than their friends is going to, you know, it's going to affect them for the next 10, 11 years of their life unless something's done about it. So that's why using it as a superpower, it means that they're in a minority of people in the world that have got this superpower and they can use it to their advantage. So.
Let's harness it in the right way. No, that's a beautiful message, Tom. And Luke, what about yourself?
Yeah, man, just I want to win World's Strongest Man. I want to share as many podiums as Tom as I can. I think, you know, when we're on that podium together, it's really special because we're doing, you know, that's that history thing. You know, that's it'll be very hard to repeat that. So if we can share podiums, if we can just keep doing what we do with the competitions, I'd love to break the world record log press. Yeah, Tom touched on it quite a lot there, you know, raising awareness for autism, mental health, keep trying to, you know, because I think, you know, we get a bit too kind of, I don't know, not caught up in it, but like the right words to say and stuff. And I don't know the right words to say. I'm not like, I don't use all the words, but I know what it makes me feel. And it's showcasing that feeling, what can I do in cold water, what doing all these holistic things, what else there is out there. So if we can try and showcase that to people from someone that's, you know, from both of us that are strong men, you know, we're like, oh, we can't be like that, you know, because it's the stigma related with strength athletes. I think, you know, we get stereotyped quite badly. And I think, you know, if it was anyone else getting stereotyped in today's society, you'd get cancelled. You know, if someone was stereotyping someone else, you know, you'd be, oh, strongman or just blah, 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 blah. And that's what we've had for years. So
many wrong assumptions, like you say.
Definitely, because we're people. That's it. You know, we're just two guys that love training, that do it because we enjoy it. And you know, we've got feelings, we've got issues, we go through different ups and downs in life, just like everyone else. And I think that kind of stereotyping and that assumptions that people make in life, you know, as soon as that starts to go and people can just get on with it and just be happy, man. That's what I would like to be able to showcase, because that's all we want to do. We just want to be as happy as we can and do as well as we can in whatever time we have left, you know. So if we can grow the business, really kind of put Invergordon and the Highlands in Scotland on the map for because there's so much untapped potential that we have in Scotland, you know, and certainly in the Highlands, you know, the kind of we don't maybe have as much access to the top of the range facilities and stuff. So if we could maybe try and, I've got this thing about building a facility up here that kind of encompasses everything, you know. So we have our shop there, merchandise, clothing, gyms for bodybuilding, strength, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, CrossFit, Highland Games, you know, everything. I think that would be amazing. So it's just, yeah, keep doing that, keep competing. I love competing. I love that buzz I get when I compete. It's somewhere where I really feel alive. You know, I can change as a person, you know, become this kind of wild animal, I feel almost. A pussycat, yeah. But yeah, I just like to do things that make me kind of smile and kind of make me feel something, because I think we all have to feel something. If we're numbing ourselves, that's where it becomes a worry. You know, if you're doing stuff just to numb those feelings, it's not good. You've got to experience the feelings, whatever they are, learn to deal with it. If it's trauma, if it's bad, if it's upsetting, you know, learn to deal with that. Deal with it and then move on and try and grow from that. And I think if Tom and I can showcase that a little bit more, that'd be pretty awesome.
Exactly. As people that have maybe been stereotyped as big, hard, strong men, if you can talk about wider things. And one of the topics that comes up continually in the podcast is masculinity and how people talk about it as toxic. But I think as a masculine, strong role model figure, being able to articulate the things that are going wrong in your life and what you're going to do about them and the help that you might need is actually a very positive masculine trait, rather than shying away and turning the other cheek and manning up, or turning away from challenge and hard conversations. I think that's not a masculine trait at all. I think that's a weak trait. Strength is being able to expose your vulnerability and then do something about it and take action. I think you two are both tremendous advocates for that. One of the questions I had written down, which I don't write down a lot of questions, but I wanted to understand, where did Spicy come from?
You want to? Yeah, so Spicy came from, again, it goes back to the 2019 World's Strongest Man. So we were kind of out for food with one of our competitors, Martins, and he had a camera person at the time doing all the filming and stuff. And we got to the top of like spicy sauces, and I said tomato sauce used to be too spicy for me. So they kind of didn't believe, and they were like, what, blah, blah, this. And then the next day, we had woken up and she had made a like spicy Stoltman t-shirt with a chili on it, just to kind of take the mick a wee bit. So, and then we wore that, and a few people were wearing it, and it kind of just stuck to us. So like, yeah, it's a reverse. We're not actually. I think it's because I hate spicy food. So yeah, they just thought it'd be funny to call it the spicy Stoltmans, and it's clicked ever since, and that's where the name came from. So yeah, me not liking sauce.
I love it, and let's hope for some more spicy podiums in the future. You guys, at the time of recording, are heading off to the Arnolds, and then of course we've got the World's Strongest Man in April. For anyone that's not already acquainted with the Stoltmans, where do you want them to head towards after this conversation? Where should they go?
So if you could check out our YouTube channel, Stoltman Brothers, my Instagram, Luke.Stoltman, Tom's Instagram, Tom Stoltman Official. Yeah, and yeah, that's us.
Fantastic, gents. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited to see all the different things you're going to do, both in the competitive space, but also in the online space, and supporting people on the way, and very grateful to have the opportunity to chat. And to you, the listener, thank you very much for joining us. And I'll be back to speak to you all again very, very soon.